Hello and welcome to 2-Day Rentals. It's been a little bit since I've done a sort of let's play or let's check out for a video game. And I chose the 1992 G.I. Joe arcade game by Konami. And I'm really excited about this one because I haven't played this game in quite some time. I did play it in the arcades back probably in the early 90s. And, you know, from what I remember, it's a really fun game. It's not going to win any awards, as most arcade games won't, for depth or variety of gameplay. But I think it got it where it counts. And especially with the G.I. Joe license tagged on there. I think if this was just your standard run-and-gun action game without the G.I. Joe license, I may not be singing its praises so much. But as you can see, it's beautifully drawn. Beautifully drawn sprites. There's a lot of scaling effects. It's got Cobra and G.I. Joe characters from, it seems to me, if I remember correctly, the late 80s, early 90s. And it kind of mixes versions of those characters together. And it's a lot of fun. And that's exactly what I look for in a video game, be it an arcade game, be it a game that I pump hundreds of hours into. I want to have fun with it. And the moment I stop having fun is the moment I move on to something else. And not to say that I wouldn't revisit that game once the fun is halted. But, yeah, what's the point, right? If a game feels like too much of a grind, then I'm going to move on to something else. And that's where I think arcade games are so great. I think that's where I gravitate towards them. Because though they may not be the deepest in gameplay, or each arcade game may not have a variety of gameplay within it, I do think you can come back to them time and time again, and that's a sign of a good game. And not every arcade game is that way, obviously. I mean, there's some bad arcade games, stuff that's just like, how did this ever leave the manufacturing floor and hit arcades, you know, all across the country and the world? But I don't think this is one of them. I don't know if it gets a lot of praise and love as being just this revolutionary game. But again, if you're a fan of G.I. Joe, like I am, then there's something to be had here, some fun to be had here. So let's jump in. Got to pop some credits in. Hang on, let me get my Aladdin's Castle token. Maybe a few more. Sure does make it easier in your pocketbook when you can just, I don't know, I've never put a quarter in or an arcade token in like that. Maybe, but yeah, big fan of the arcades as a kid. Spent a lot of time in those, so it's fired up. Duke, Snake Eyes, Scarlet Road. Like, that's kind of what I remember. Two-player variety here. So you got 4 playable characters: Duke, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Roadblock. I'm gonna go with Snake Eyes, one of my favorite G.I. Joes. Probably an obvious choice, but that's what we're gonna do. And I like this version of Snake Eyes. It's like the early 90s version of Snake Eyes. And I still have that figure. And look at this game's drawn beautifully. Sorry, I'm going to be distracted a lot, but you know, my G.I. Joe figure collection, it's something I really need to address. I have several. I mean, the G.I. Joe figures is something that I started collecting very early on, probably around the same time as I started collecting Star Wars figures. And one of my favorite things that I used to do as a kid was Frankenstein those puppies. And, you know, take this head and put it on this body, and you do that enough time, you kind of wear down some of those figures. So I still have all the parts. They're definitely, and some of them are still intact. Like, I didn't destroy all of them, or, you know, quote unquote custom all of them. But I need to just go back and put them in their original form and see what I got. Because I wouldn't mind picking up a few more sort of vintage G.I. Joes. Man, I tell you, I know I mentioned it before in a previous video, I just love what Hasbro's done with their G.I. Joe Classified line. It's just some of the best figures that have come out in a while. And, you know, I don't think I'm going to go for a complete collection in those, but you know, cherry pick the ones I can find, because some of the exclusives sell out quick, and then they're a lot of money in the aftermarket. So back to this game. So this is it, man. You run and gun. This is what it'd be like if you're a lone Joe charging this base. No, well, not necessarily. I guess you could play 2-player. And so you'd be, tag team. But basically everything's, just, you can destroy everything. I think those are the bats and alley vipers. So the Cobra designs were always some of my favorite. Those were always some of my favorites. Like I said, the bats, the alley vipers, Croc Master, Storm Shadow, Destro. I mean, their designs are just kick-ass. I think a lot of times better than the Joe. The twins, Tomax and Zemont. The French Crimson Guard assassins. They were always cool. And a matter of fact, speaking of Hasbro, G.I. Joe Classified, and G.I. Joe figures, I just found those two on sale for cheap. They were on clearance, which I was kind of surprised. So I guess that's barbecue. No, that's Snake Eyes, but he just turned into barbecue. Man. Oh, I guess my rapid fire's gone. So you have two different weapons. You have your, main machine gun. I think Snake Eyes always carried around like an Uzi type weapon. And then you have your rocket launcher or grenade launcher that shoots the heavy artillery there. And there are the twins' dead bodies right there, man. These Joes are relentless. So I'm making a charge to this base here, and I love the scaling in this game. For 1992 arcade, it's not bad. And this game never saw the light of day in the home market. And I think it's just because it's, again, to bring this game home, you would probably have to add a little more content to it. It's a bit light in the content. If I remember correctly, it's a relatively short game. So maybe we'll try to play through the whole thing. I don't know. But we're just checking this out. It's been a long time since I visited this one. It's funny because I just found the twins, Tomax and Zemont, for super cheap. And so I don't want to say I'm on a G.I. Joe kick. I'm always on a G.I. Joe kick, especially with Hasbro just pumping out one after the other. And I've got a couple more on pre-order, like Copperhead, and I can't remember a few of the other ones that I pre-ordered recently. But anyway, I felt in the mood to, there's the bats again. I felt in the mood to fire up some G.I. Joe. Dang it. We're going to continue. Snake Eyes. And there's not a lot in the way of G.I. Joe video games, in my opinion, that are kind of worth a damn. They did that one that came out just a couple years ago for like the Switch and the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox. It's like it's hard to explain it, but it's not bad. I don't know how to describe what it is. It's a third-person action sort of run-and-gun game. Imagine something like this, but in 3D and with different upgrades and stuff you can get for your characters. And it's not bad. Again, it feels a little shallow. So, there haven't been just that many great G.I. Joe games, in my opinion. There are a few that are okay. There's a couple for the NES. I think that they're, all right from what I can remember. It's been a while since I've played those. Those were big renters for me. I rented those games a lot. And I think there may have been some other games whenever the G.I. Joe movies, the ill-fated G.I. Joe movies, came out, that just were okay. But this one's not bad. Again, if you want to fire up something to let off a little steam after a long work week, this is it, man. And there's some fun to be had here, like I've said a bunch of times already. But you know, here we are back to the game. We're charging this huge base, and I like how the base started off in the far distance initially, and we're getting closer to it. So, you know, if this game did come home Metalhead, and see, that's cool that it features so many different character varieties, especially from the Cobra standpoint. But you know, if this game did come to the home market, I would say you'd have to add something else to it. And I guess that's kind of an observation about this game in general. I think if they added some... talking too much. If they added some different stage varieties, maybe switch to a side-scrolling thing, or a vehicle level, or... God, how cool would it be if you could fly one of the Joe's, like, jets in some of the in-between stages? You know, to kind of break it up, and you could do some air combat. That would be awesome. Did that even hit him? He got to get close. He's blinking red. So anyway, that's probably why this never made it home. Now, it could have made it home if they did like an arcade compilation thing, like a Saturday morning cartoon compilation with some other licensed properties. That would be awesome. You could maybe squeeze a version of this on the Super Nintendo. Looks like it could maybe run on that. Cobra Weapons Plan. It's not a bad looking game at all. I will say, and maybe anyone that's watching this, if you want to comment down below, I noticed that with my setup here that some of these arcade games or the older games that were sprite based, they seem to drop frames, and I don't know if it's the settings that I have. I thought I had everything clicking on all cylinders for it to do that. You know, it's not super noticeable. It is to me, kind of when I watch. I see the screen down here that's capturing. I'm watching the actual monitor that's, you know, this emulator's running through. And so it just kind of bugs me because I want to say that I haven't had this issue before, so I don't know if I messed with something. I tried to kind of test out another game before I started recording this and fired it up, but I don't seem to have it so much with newer games that I've captured footage for. But this... Dang it. I seem to just... Snake Eyes. I seem to just drop a few frames here and there. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to kind of tell you what my setup is. I will say my capture card is the Elgato HD60 Plus. So I mean, I think it, you know, it's not. Here's the deal. Capturing footage from games this is new to me. This is just in the past year or so that I've started doing this. So I know I've got a lot to learn. And I feel like from the research I did, this is a decent capture card. I'm sure they're better. I'm sure people will be like, well, you know, why don't you not use such piece of crap equipment? I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's just something I have. Oh, bears. I think it's just a setting I have here.
It's showtime.
It is showtime. You're going down. I think I gotta take out those turrets. Oh my goodness, it's intense. Dang it. Okay, there's that rapid fire. You may have saw that. I was trying to bob and weave. Man. Hey, thank goodness for infinite continues. I mean, I should have been keeping track of how many quarters, virtual quarters, I plopped into this thing, see how much it would have cost me to see the whole experience. Do you ever do that as a kid? Just say, okay, I'm going to dedicate $10 and I'm going to get through Simpsons Arcade, or I'm going to, you know, fly through this arcade game fly through it. The money will fly out of your wallet. And, you know, something I didn't know as a kid is that the operators of the arcade, they can, you know, on a lot of the arcade cabinets, they can adjust the settings, you know, so they can really take you for all you're worth, make it a lot more difficult. I got 4 rockets. I should fire like that. Bring the screen here a little bit. Hey. Yo, Joe! Yo, Joe. Got a little life bar down there, if you've noticed. Once that gets depleted, it's cartons. Maybe I'll try a different character after I inevitably die again. I don't think that there's a lot of difference in the characters, how they play, if my memory serves me correctly. I think I need to be hitting the ship, and not so much her, or maybe not. Yeah. Take that, Baroness! Yo, Joe! You ever had a Red Baroness pizza?
Mission 2.
Oh, Mission 2. Oh, snap. Already? Were you taking on Cobra Commander already? Ah. Just in the nick of time. Now you send in your A-team. Do you think this is G.I. Joe? Is this their A-team? Duke, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, and Roadblock? I'd like seeing Beachhead in here. But I guess ultimately it doesn't really matter if they all play exactly the same. I think that my G.I. Joe A-team, I mean, definitely, this may be pretty close. I think I'd throw Beachhead in there. I love Beachhead. Quick Kick, I think that was his name. Even though we already have sort of a ninja type. You know, Duke, Snake Eyes, Beachhead. Flint, maybe. I always liked Flint, too. Man, look at all the different things going on the screen and all the different varieties of enemies. Sun on a beach. Okay. Yes, we want to continue. Let's go with Scarlet. Scarlet may be in there, too. Well, maybe her primary weapon's a bit different. Something I can give here. Yeah, it's definitely one of those kind of games you kind of fire up as a break from something else. So, as an example, I have revisited Elden Ring. It seems weird because it only came out a year ago, but I put a lot of time into that game when it first came out and wanted to go back and do a different build and do some different things like that, so I've started revisiting it, and I put a ton of time into that. And I got to play with my good buddy Gus. If you're watching this, bud, good times there. And so we put a lot of time into that, and then I think kind of what started this kick is then he and I started playing Shredder's Revenge, the new-ish Ninja Turtle beat 'em up. And so I was just really wanting to fire up some arcade goodness, and I thought, you know, this is one that I kind of feel like doesn't get enough love. And again, I'm not saying it's the greatest arcade game ever made, but with that G.I. Joe license and just some of the things it does as far as the scaling, and it brings the different versions of the characters together, that's cool. I think this is Major Blood. This is Major Dead. Was that Major Blood? sound. Should I be shooting this? I should have been. The sound, it was a little crackly, so I thought maybe something was glitching out. Oh my gosh. A lot going on. This is no joke. They really don't want us infiltrating this base. There must be some super duper secret Cobra stuff going on here. Maybe they have found xenomorph eggs. Let's switch it up. Let's do roadblock. Yeah, I think they all basically play about the same. So I'm not sure that laser actually hurts you. I think if it locks onto you. Oh. Sun on a beach. Opposite. Yo, Joe. Yo, Joe. Uh-oh, some more alley vipers. Those alley vipers are some of my favorite characters in the G.I. Joe Classified version of that. Again, considering enough good things about that. So tell me, what would your A-team of G.I. Joes be? Who are you sending in? There's so many to choose from. I kind of go back to my old faves. I think I'd have a harder time choosing my A-team of Cobras. Because like I said, I even as a kid, I always leaned into and sort of gravitated towards the Cobra designs, characters. And their vehicles were cool. This looks very dark. It's a cavern, so I hope it's not some weird... Oh, okay, there we go. Some weird glitch. Let's clear the way here. Look at roadblock. That's why they call them roadblock for a reason. Bats, and I'm out of... Oh, man, the hitbox on this is a little wonky, I think. I don't think that thing hit me. What about this? So if they did a Saturday morning cartoon collection, what would you like to see on there? I think you could do Ninja Turtle, G.I. Joe. I tell you, I was playing an Inspector Gadget game on the Game Boy Advance the other day and was having a blast with it. I had never played it before. I found it while out of town at a little retro game store. Look at health. I haven't seen health drop a lot. I found this Inspector Gadget. This will do. Goes Duke since he's the only one we haven't played as. Back to it. I found this Inspector Gadget Game Boy Advance game while out of town. It was like $10. And it's a platformer, and you can switch between Brain and Penny and Gadget, and they all have their different sort of abilities and things that they can do. And I gotta tell you, it looks great on the Analog Pocket, first and foremost. But it was a lot of fun. At least early on, the first 2 or 3 levels. Started to get a little bit repetitive, but not so much where it's just unplayable in the later stages. But I'll have to talk about that sometime. So what other, okay, let me ask you this. What other Saturday morning cartoons did they not really make games for would you like to see? Like a real Ghostbusters, to my knowledge, I don't know of one. It was like an arcade experience where you could maybe pack onto a cart or a CD and release, because I think that would be the best way to do it. And have several Saturday morning cartoon pack. Featuring G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtle, Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters, and Muppet Babies. See, that could be fun. You could do a platformer type thing. There's a lot of things you could do. You know, and it's a shame that because this game never saw the light of day, and there's probably a lot of people that are big G.I. Joe fans that, you know, never heard of it, never seen it. Who we got now?
You won't get up after this one.
I won't get up after this one. Oh, I will. I've got plenty of tokens. I think of those... I can't remember the name of those little the guys that come up from the ground. Not from the ground. From the water. I can't remember the name of those guys. Let's go see the guys. Back to the OG. Those aren't copper. That's not Copperhead, is it? Hey, if it keeps dropping those rockets, and I can pick those up, I'm in that all day. Make quick work of Destro here. Oh, my rapid fire ran out. Woo! It's just you and me, Destro. Oh, and your big hovercraft. Get that. Look at this. There's just so much awesome crap going on right now. This is epic, man. Or at least I think it is. You know, you guys may think this looks boring as hell. To each their own. This is, you know, it's a Saturday morning when I'm recording this, so this is great. Oh, got some rockets. Jeez Louise. Yeah, we heard you. There we go. I'm easily, you know, probably $10 in right now. Look at that.
Goodbye, Joe.
Goodbye, Joe. I think my voice sounded better. And I do believe the, as of recording this video, the G.I. Joe the movie just had an anniversary. I think it, well, I mean, not like a big one, I don't believe, but I think it came out in April. I'm recording this in April. So, April of 87, 88, something like that. The game is not over yet. Okay, here we go. So we're playing through the whole thing. Final battle. This is a really short one. Damn. Oh, it's gonna be, I guarantee you this is gonna be BS. It's one of those things, again, if I go back to how much money I would have had to plop into this machine, this is where it's gonna get crazy. But as a kid, you wanted to play through and see the end. This is awesome. I'm fighting on top of this big, like, aircraft carrier spaceship sort of thing. And I kind of feel like I should go ahead and use all my rockets because I'm going to die and I'm going to get more, so... And then maybe I can pick up some more along the way. Oh! Actually, I'm doing too bad. Oh, I need those. I need those. There it is. Did that guy hit me? So what do you think? If they, let's just say they released this game singular on its own on the home consoles, but they decided to add some stuff. Or in what way could they improve this game to add some depth? Because this is it. This is the final battle. As you see, it's in this space harrier, sort of over-the-shoulder perspective. What do we think here? I think some flying stages would have been cool. I think you could have... I'm not thinking. I even feel like you could have done some side-scrolling stuff. On a few stages. You know, and maybe they pushed the arcade board to its limits with this. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of scaling, and there's a lot of good sound. The music's not bad. The sprites are really colorful. So, I mean, there is a lot going on, but I just feel like they could have done, just to make this game really epic and for people to really remember it, I think that they could have done just something else. I tell you what, maybe they could have done. Have a game where you play, or have a version of the game, you could choose between playing as the Cobras or the G.I. Joes. Oh, here I am, speaking of which, final battle here, and I'm just yapping. Goodness gracious. I'm gonna shoot these floating orbs. I'm gonna get a shot in on him there. Oh. More? I'm sure everyone watching like, you suck at this game. Well, I haven't played it in 30 years. So there you go. I mean, look what's going on. I'm just going for it here.
You'll never defeat me.
Whoa! That was awesome. Maybe it's not done yet. It's not. Oh my gosh, I celebrated too soon. It was a decoy. Oh, I'm out of rockets, of course. I always like the Cobra Commander with like the, I don't know what you call it, the cloak or whatever over his face, sort of draped over. I thought that was a neat look. Very scary. Oh, man. At least I'll get some more rockets. Quit working this guy. Come on. Oh, he's blinking red. Got him on the ropes. Yeah, we're about $20 right now. There we go. My 10, 11-year-old self is broke now. Can't buy any G.I. Joe figures now because I've spent it all playing this arcade game. Dude, look at that. Took down the whole ship. Whoa. Very cool. Well, that's it. Credits are rolling. So, hey, I had a lot of fun with this one when I was a kid. I had a lot of fun with it now. I think it's one of those ones, fire up ever so often, just to maybe see if you can outdo your high score or do a no-hit run, no-death run if you're into that sort of thing. But it's, you know, it is what it is. And I think, again, like I said at the beginning, if it didn't have the G.I. Joe license to it, I probably wouldn't pay this game any mind. But, you know, it's not bad. So let me know what you think. Let me know if... Wait, the game's not over yet.
Mission 1.
What happens? Does it... Hang on a second. I'm just going to see if anything's different, like, on the second playthrough. If it looks harder or anything. Doesn't appear to be. Okay. But, you know, let me know. Let me know if you had any experience with this game, if you're going to try it out, if you haven't already after seeing this. And, you know, what other Saturday morning cartoon license could we have seen bundled into a pack of games for the home console? Thank you so much for stopping down. I plan to do a bit more of these sort of let's check out video games. And I know I've been saying it for a long time. I would like to maybe do some streaming, some live streaming on Twitch or something like that. But I've got a few things to figure out with my capture device, and I got to figure out what I would play for that length of time. So if you like this, hit the notification button down below so you get more updates of when I post things. And if this is your first time here, I would love it if you subscribed. And you never know what I'll be talking about here, but if it has to do with movies, video games, music from time to time, licensed merchandise from all the movies and cartoons we love, there's a good chance I'll probably talk about it here on this channel. So be kind as you rewind and fast forward through time. Thanks so much for stopping by 2 Day Rentals.